Hi, this is Bonnie, and today we're going to do some wreath building. And for this one, for the most part, I just did my own thing just by eyeing it, but I'm going to show you a way that you can create your own rotating tool and make it look a little bit more circular if you wanted to. So first of all, some of the supplies I'm going to use today, I am going to be using the Enchanted Fairy Hugs Enchanted die called Nightwell Castle, and that die looks like that. And then I will be using Fairy Hugs Pinecones, and just to let you know, I'm not going to be showing you exactly how I did this because I did that in my last video, but basically I stamped all three of these in craft paper, and I used the ink VersaFine Clair Pinecone, and that's what I'm going to be using on my card today. I am also using the, oh, this is upside down, but I am using the Wizard, let me see, Lightning. I think that's what it's called, but because it's backwards, I can't read it very well. Sorry about that. I didn't even look, I just looked at the pictures, not reading it. All right, so yeah, it is called Wizard Lightning. Okay, and I'm going to be using this one right here. And it's going to be serving as, let's see, where did I just put that? Yep, it's going to be our twigs inside of our wreath. All right, and then I'm also using, this is a special edition from Fairy Hugs. It is called Special As You Are, and I am going to be using this one right here, as you can see. This makes really a nice wreath. And to get started, I wanted to show you how I came up with my own, like I said, tool to make the circular stamping. But first I'm going to show you what I did make. So I made that out of just regular cardstock. It's a heavy cardstock, but I eyed mine kind of and used a grid underneath it when I went to make it. So this time I wanted to see if I could make this easier for you to understand. And I got some really old graph paper from my husband. He's an engineer. And you can use any size die, but you're going to want to be able to rotate it on the paper or whatever you're going to use as your template to make your rotating tool. So what's really important, and I am not a mathematician, but my understanding, my husband says you can figure this out mathematically, and I did not. And so what I did is I found one of my dies that would fit inside of the grid marks that I have, so I could show that to you easily. So you need to find your center, what you're going to use for your center, both ways. So obviously, I made sure I counted, although when I first did this, I didn't even count it out. Again, I eyed it. So you just count whatever those spaces are in between to make sure you're in the center. And I'm making it in red so you can see it. Okay? And then you're going to want to go across the other way. Again, make sure that it's centered. And I'll go ahead and draw the line for you that way. And you want to extend the line for a reason, because when you go to rotate it, you want to see those lines. All right, so then what you would do is you would take this, I'm going to go ahead and draw the inside line so you can see it. So you would take this to your die cutting tool, whatever your die cutter, and you would cut that square out, okay? And when you do that, obviously you end up with a hole. So then you want to do some rotating, right? So in order to do that, you rotate your die and you line up those corners as best as you can, because then that means that is exactly the way you want it to be. So then your next cut would be coming across like this, and technically you'll only be, because this inside piece will be gone, you'll cut this, but only the pieces that will be taken away are these triangles on those edges there. You can hand cut this too. And that would be, whoops, that would be your second. Like I said, these pieces wouldn't be there. I didn't do this one, hold on. So that would be there and there. Okay, I'm just go ahead and do that all the way for you so you can see it. And again, like I said, this piece here in the middle will be gone. So obviously, you're going to want to rotate it more than that many times, but you can do it just that many because you want to complete it. So this is the part where it gets a little trickier because you want to figure out what goes in between this mark right here. Okay? And you want to get it so that it's the same height as that. And like I said, it makes it a little trickier. But let me see. Oh, I know what you need to do. I was going to say, I know that I had a line that made that work. So basically, you're going to want your lines, I think this is right, to intersect this way, going all the way across. Too. I think that's right. Hold on. Okay, because we want that to line up. Well, maybe not. All right, I know I've got these two spots right. Okay, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and get those cut out so I'm not too confused, and I'll be right back. You know, I'm going to go ahead and show you. If you fold this right there on your line, okay, you should be able to still cut that. You don't even have to really have the die cut machine, but it does work. And this is just a rough, I'm just showing you this roughly. Okay, so we got that one cut. I'm going to show you this as I actually did the one in the diagonal first. But then you can go ahead and still fold this again, and you have to cut these corners out there. There's that one. And that side. And I really don't know if you do need that many rotating, but we'll find out. I put a lot on the one that I did originally, and I didn't use part of them. So let's just check this out. So that's the rotating tool that you would have. And if you had cut out your piece of paper, your paper would fit in there, and then you'd rotate it to then stamp a second piece. You're going to want more, just like I said. So you've got to figure out how those pieces will fit in there and be in the center. And again, you see I'm kind of eyeing it again because I do want it to be in the center. But you can always change, just a minute. You can always change how you position whatever stamp, and I'll show you that in a minute. You can always change the position of your paper to fit the stamp or the stamp. All right, so those would be other places. I could even use this as far as that goes. And then, yeah, that even works that way. Let's go like that. You just want to have those little notches, whoops, to put your paper in. And yeah, buying the tool, there's a tool, it's by Mama Makes. There's a tool you can get, and it's just a quarter of what I'm showing you. And so you don't really need all the bottom pieces. So then what I would do then in turn is I'd cut all these out, right? All right, so we've got that pretty much figured out. Basically, you're making kind of like a starburst. Anyway, that's what you're going to do. I'm not going to do this right now because it's not exactly the way I want it to be, but that is the idea, and then you just need to know how this works. So I'm bringing over what I already made because I do know that it works. And this is what I'm calling my tool guide. And the card stock is thick enough that it will hold in what I'm going to be stamping. And so what I do is you bring this over. It's not exactly perfect. As you can see, my paper is smaller, but it's okay because I can make sure I have that measured. And you'll see what I'm saying as I'm going. It makes sense. So the first one I'm going to do is the greenery. And in order to do that, I do want to make this so that this does not move as I'm going. So I'm going to use my washi tape. And I also have taped this down. And I've supported it with that. Well, actually, you know what? I can just support it with this. Let's just do that. Sorry, I sound a little confused, but it isn't it's making your own. And so whenever you make your own, you have to adjust to doing things a little bit differently. So I'm going to be using RainForest, VersaFine Clair RainForest for my greenery. And again, I'm going to show you my sample. And that's my sample. Okay, that's what we're going for. And what I'm going to do is you want to make sure that it will go around. And you know what? I'm not using this paper. I'm going to tear it away like I did this one. So it's all right if it's not centered or anything actually in it. I just want to make sure it's a wreath. But if you do want to, you're going to have to center it. So let's say that's going to be our first one. I can see that that works, right? So then what you'll be doing is you rotate it to the next spot. And you do really want to make sure, see how I'm not exactly up against the corners? When you go to do it with a tool, you're up against the corners. So then I rotate it and it's going to go next to it. That's how it's supposed to go. Let's see, because I can turn it over. So that's going to be my first one, right? Okay. That's good. So then I would rotate it to the next spot. And you can see again how I don't have it exactly up against. That's typically what you would do. I am not moving this, but you see this is not going to work, right? It's too close. So I'm going to go to the next space. All right, let's see if that will work. Yes, that's what I want. So I have a little bit more notches than what you normally get when you get the tool. All right, so then we turn it one more time. Again, I'm lining that up. Let's see, too close. Rotate it again. And see this one, because my paper is not square either, that's my other problem. To show you this, but it's still working. All right. I'm going to rotate it. We're going to know that this is not going to work because it's going to be too close. Yep. So rotate it again. And stamp. Okay, so you're seeing how that's going. We know that this one's not going to work, correct? I'm still going to show you. Nope. So rotate one more time. And that will work as long as I move my magnet. All right. This one's not going to work. So we'll go to the next one. And you could always test this out by holding it over it first. All right. This one's not going to work. Just to show you. And before you stamp, you can always check. All right. This one won't work, but this one should. And that will be our last one. And then we're going to get the wizard lightning. And we're going to come. Now you can see how this is different than this one. I eyed this one and I just went over it wherever I want. This one makes more of this of the perfect-ish circle. Now, if I wanted to, I can come back in here, change this, and make it fuller. In fact, you know what? I might just do that, but I think if I do, I'm going to change the green, just so that I have a variety in there. And I am going to be using Shady Lane. I'm just doing this. I haven't done this one before. I did this other one by eye, but we can make this work. So, in order to do that, I am going to totally change the placement. All right, so my placement is going to be here. I'm not going to push hard because I'm going to use a different green. Just light enough to pick it up. You can still see it. It'll be fine. I'll cover it up. So like I said, I am using Shady Lane, and we're going in a different spot. Because you can move this, you can move your stamp and put it wherever you want to make it different. And see, now it's making it fuller, and I have a different color green. Or you could have just left it the way it was, okay? So, we're rotating it. This one probably won't work, but we're going to check. Nope. So we know it's going to stay consistent. We're going to have to always rotate 2. And actually, this is kind of fun. Once you get the hang of it and how it goes together, you can use any stamp. And again, you just adjust this side to make it be the way you want it. And you can always test things before you even commit. This is just, to me, as far as I'm concerned, kind of like a scrap paper. If it didn't work, I would just try stamping a new one, because it's just fun. All right, so that one's too close. Right. So we rotate that one more time. I was talking, so I wasn't paying attention, and that is a problem. There we go. All right. So 1, 2. Now, like I said, there are tools out there that you can use. There's also, I've seen people have like a stencil that's underneath. Okay, 1, 2. I've seen a stencil underneath and they rotate it on top of that. To me, it's just a little bit more complicated, but if you get used to that, it works. All right. 1, 2. All right. 1, 2. Almost done. One, 2. And really, it would have lined up better if my paper was square. If it would have been the actual size I started out with in the background, it would have been more, the paper would have been more square. All right, I think I've got it covered. So then, like I said, the next thing I would do is the wizard lightning. And again, I'm just gonna, I didn't even put as many in of that. I only did like 4. So I can do whatever I want to do. So I think I'm going to start my wizard lightning to be like right there. Okay? And I'm using a brown. And what I'm going to use is, I think I'm going to use, I want it to be a lighter brown, so I think I'm going to use the Acorn. If not, I can always stamp over that because it is a lighter color. Yeah, I used Acorn, I believe, before. So you can kind of see that. Let me put it closer. Okay. So now I'm going to decide where I want the next one to go. So I'm going to rotate it one time just so you can see what that looks like, so that we know that's not what I want. It's too close. So rotate it one more time. And that's still closer than what I want for what I'm doing now. I want a little bit more space. So I'm going to go a third time and see what that looks like. Yep, that's what I want. Now, you can actually go back here, like I said, and stamp it again and have it coming out this way. So you can have it in and out. You could do so many things. It's just that, you can just be that creative. Okay, so that is, there's our 1 and our 2, and it's going to be 3. I'll double check to make sure. Yep. Okay. So again, 1, 2, 3. One, 2, 3. As you can tell, I'm not using the bottom at all. I'm basically just rotating it by what's at the top. Okay, so that is what I'm going to be doing for the wreath. There's more things I'm going to add, but it has nothing to do with the rotating. So we are finished with what I'm going to be doing with that wreath. It's not a perfect circle, and that has to do with this square was not perfect, and then lining it up to that. But shows you can still do it, and it looks really cool. So what I am going to do, which is what I did with the other one, is I don't like as much white on my cards, and I'm going to mat this. So all I want to do now is I'm just going to tear it. And oh, I forgot to tell you, I used a watercolor type paper, so this paper tears really easily. And you can see how easy that tears. And this wreath does not need to be something that's just for Christmas. It's a wreath that can be used anytime. All right, a little piece. And then you can go through back in there and clean it up whatever way you want to. I want it to be a little bit closer, I think, to the greenery. All right. I think I'm going to go with that, and I'm probably going to distress the edges. So we're all set with that. And then our next step is going to be getting the rest of that together. We're going to use the dye. And we're going to use the pine cones. I've already got the pine cones made up. And I can even show you how those they're going to fit in there. It just really makes a pretty card. So I'll show you that closer. It really makes it pretty. So we're going to go ahead and finish up. Okay, so now we're going to decorate this, and we're going to also pick what paper we're going to be putting that on. So I'm going to be using, we'll come up with that a little bit. I'm going to be using MorningWillow, and I'm going to be using this paper to go behind it. My husband actually picked this one out. That's what he liked, and that will be going on there just like that. So before we get that on, I'm going to do a little bit more to this. I have a mask template that is 1 3/4. And I also die cut the castle that I showed you previously, what we're going to be using. And that's the Nightwell castle. And I actually did it out of white glitter paper. And so anyway, it's going to be going like this. So that's where my moon mask is going to go. I'm going to be using chipped sapphire and my blending brush. And we're just going to go, I'm not going to try to go over the wreath it all. And I'm using a little bit different paper like I normally use, but it's working out fine. It will just give us a little bit of a halo there. There we go. And then the next thing, like I said, we will be adding our castle there. And I think I might end up, I don't know if I'm going to put this all on top of the paper first before I start building on top of it. So because I'm going to do that, I am going to distress the edges of this with this chipped sapphire as well before I get started. I just don't like the contrast, the sharp contrast between the paper and the the white paper against the green. So I'm going to distress that. I think I like that better. Okay, just about done. That works. And then, like I said, that will be going on top of here, just like that. And I don't think that I'm going to, lots of times when I do layers, I'll raise them up just to give it a little bit more dimension. So maybe I'll go ahead and do that really quickly, and I'll be right back, so you don't have to watch me do that. Okay, so I have the foam tape on the back, and I'm going to position that on the front of the card. And you can remember, you can still do stamping around here if you want to add more, what do you want to say, if you want to add a little bit more interest. And I put tape on the back, foam tape on the back of that as well. And then I'm going to start adding my pine cones, and I think I'm going to start with the largest one, and it's going to go like that, pretty sure. Yep. Okay, so seeing as I'm going to be doing it that way, I am going to actually put the one that's in the back down with glue. So that's this one right here. Just a little bit of glue. And pop that up so I can put it there. And then this one's going to have some foam tape behind it. As well. Okay. All right, and then we're going to do a large one. And again, I'm going to do foam tape, and because it'll probably overlap that one just a little bit, maybe I'll have it tuck. I think I'm going to have it tuck underneath. I think that works too. So we'll go like that. I think I'll be able to get, sometimes I have to add double tape to make one higher than the other, but I think this will work because this foam is not a really stiff foam. I'm using this up, I've had it in my stash, and it's not as thick, and it's a little bit more spongy, and it allows for that to work. All right, so that's how that's going to go. The one other thing I was considering doing is adding some red berries throughout, and I am just going to use my Prismacolor pencil, and this one is Crimson Red 924, but I noticed the end, as I grabbed it, needs to be sharpened just a little bit. Okay, now we're ready. So I'm just going to, like I said, randomly draw little circles just to give us some red colors. Throughout. I think that works pretty good. And again, if you don't want it to look really Christmassy, you don't have to add the berries. You can just do whatever. I'll put some inside. You can't see those as well, but I'm going to add them anyway. And then just rotate it around and add some more. Now, if you want to do sparkly, there's gel pens. That could work really well for this as well. I'm going to add a little bit more down here. Let's take a look. Okay, take a look at that a little bit closer. And that is a pretty simple card, and it has some really good interest to it, I think. I really like the glitter on the castle. It's pretty. So all I'll do is I'll end up putting it on a card base. I'll probably do I don't know if I'm going to do a black or a white, but I think I might end up with a black. So that's our finished project for today. I really appreciate you stopping by, and we'll have more videos coming up, and I can't wait to see you soon. So like I said, in the description below I'll have the products I used. Thanks so much.